So we've all been there. At some point or another, when we were in the real estate market ourselves, it was important for us to know how to buy a house. And man, would I have loved to have a real estate agent on my side that was worth their salt. And it wasn't just about the transaction, and they actually cared about what I needed to know to educate me as a buyer so that I could make smart decisions, use my money more wisely, and understand what's next. Today, we're going to talk about it. It's the First Time Home Buyer Seminar. This is the real estate agent's guide and the client's understanding for what they need to know. For all of you that are potentially first-time home buyers out there, listen up. Today's class is specifically for you and everything that you got to know and everything that your real estate agent had better know to set you on the road for success. Welcome to the Home Buying Experience. I'm Alex Bartneski, and this is a real estate thing. So working with first-time home buyers is potentially the most rewarding experience for a real estate professional. To teach someone how to buy a house for the very first time, seeing those smiles and at the closing table where they give you all those warm fuzzies, and they create true memories for not only them, but for you. You did it. You helped someone into the American dream, and hopefully you created a great experience for them and for their future investment needs. But for all those perks, for all those great emotions, working with a first-time home buyer can be incredibly tricky. There are a lot of obstacles, and the longer that the market matures, the more tricks of the trade you need to know to understand how to personally manage the wickets for your clients and make it a more enjoyable opportunity for them. You are going to spend an insane amount of time educating buyers. I've put together quite a few of the first-time home buyer tips that I have learned over the years, some things that are specifically relevant to today's market so that you can share them with your clients and they can avoid some of the mistakes that can not only cost them their dreams, but cost them the potential opportunity of their dream home. So before your first-time home buyers even start shopping, there are some things they got to do. So more than likely, your clients, dreaming of buying a house for the first time, have ripped through Zillow like a social media feed for quite a while before they ever contacted you. If you look at our video just a few weeks ago, the Zillow campaign and the Zestimate and how things work, it's important for you to understand this information. Clue into this video right here so that you could know your salt when it comes to having this discussion. Preparing your client for the process by helping them tackle a lot of these very complicated steps is going to keep you from wasting time showing a bunch of properties that either they're not really going to be interested in, or worse, they're not even qualified for. So first things first, we need to determine, has your client saved enough money for this purchase? I know there's a lot of assistance programs out there, but if your client is walking into the room expecting some program or some opportunity in their local government to take care of all of their closing costs, to take care of their down payment for them in a DPA, down payment assistance program, they are sadly mistaken. It is important for them to be set up for success. You have saved the money and put themselves in a situation to have the financial capability of buying this home. Because if you can't even afford a down payment and you can't afford to put some equity into a home right out of the gate, you should not get into real estate. You're not ready. Now, if you have that money saved up, if you have the readiness, then yeah, let's talk about what DPA programs are available for you so that potentially you can leverage them to help you out, but only if it makes financial sense. Borrowing other people's money is expensive enough. Put somebody else's program on top of it and not understanding all of the rules and regulations behind repayment or classification to not repay that money is a big differentiator on how you're going to do business. There are a lot of costs involved in purchasing a home, and most first-time home buyers are not aware of them. The terms are complicated, they overlap each other, they are on a whole bunch of different agreements, but nobody explains to them how these are put together. We're going to share some of this excellent advice for the first-time home buyers, so sit down and explain these costs to them. down payment. Unless they're using one of these loan programs that don't require it, and there are a few, the VA being a big one. And if you want to talk about all of your VA folks and how you can best help them, love these people. VA clients are some of my favorites. Make sure to check out this video on how you're using the veteran programs out there to their benefit and understanding how a VA client needs to be treated and the process that they're having to go through that you may not be aware of as an agent. Traditionally, they are most likely going to need anywhere from 5 to 20% of the purchase price as the down payment. If they need it, there are some down payment assistance programs out there, and depending on the season and depending on the local government you're buying in, there may be some additional programs that can be educated upon. But that is the first chunk of money that they need to be ready for. Do you have, worst case scenario, 20% to put down on your first home? We're going to try to get you qualified for a program that is much less than that. 15, 10, 5, maybe even 3.5%. And again, if you're part of a VA program or something like that, maybe even 0% for your down payment. That doesn't cover everything else. The next big number on the bucket list is closing costs. Buyers need to plan on an additional, on top of their down payment, 3 to 4% of any home purchase price to cover their closing costs. Now, you can certainly help your buyers by negotiating some type of seller's concession. In today's market, it's a normal conversation for us to say, are you willing, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, to help the buyer with any type of payment towards their closing costs and fees? Realtor fees. Let's talk about that. There's about to be some huge changes in the market, some bigger requirements where buyers agents particularly are going to be affected because they need to be able to declare their fees up front, and everybody's going to have to agree to it even before I show you the very first house. So to ensure your buyer understands responsibilities of covering your commission and your fees, you're going to have to start having that honest conversation up front. Traditionally in real estate, the seller would negotiate in with their selling agent how much, if any, money that they are willing to contribute if a buyer's agent comes in and also brings a client. Is there a cooperative amount of money or a cooperative percentage or a flat fee that they are willing to contribute towards the successful sale of their seller's agent working with a buyer's agent, and what will those numbers be? It's always been that way, by the way. It has always been negotiable. Obviously, you've got some groups of agents out there that have done the business dirty, and unfortunately, that's going to put all of us that have done it right suffering for the bad. Unfortunately, that is the way it is, but I also believe in transparency, and I think it's important for your buyers to know that I am not a free service. Someone is paying for my services. If it's not going to be the seller, it will be you as the buyer, which brings us to the last set of fees that they might want to be responsible for. Repairs, upgrade, furnishings, right? No home is going to be perfect. Your buyers need to be prepared for the costs of some kind of repairs or upgrades. If the seller is not willing to contribute towards those things, let them know that they may need to customize a few things to make the home their own. They may want to throw a fresh coat of paint up, or may have to replace some flooring that they've gotten some overage of wear and tear on before they decide to move in. If they're preparing to buy a home that needs some fix up or some repairs, they need to be prepared to have those things, maybe even before they close, so that they can make sure that it's documented appropriately what they're going to be using their funds for. I certainly suggest as an agent that you share some type of home buying checklist. It'll lay out the foundations of the home buying process, and it'll be full and a first-time home buyer tip guide for them to be able to follow when you're not in the room with them. Secondly, helping your buyers establish their buying power and how much house they can actually afford is kind of critical to the success all the way around. It is so easy for buyers to get caught up in the excitement of homeownership without really thinking through the realities. As a professional buyer's agent, you need to educate your buyers on how much they're going to truly pay each month, not just the total cost of ownership, but the PITI, the principal, the interest, the taxes that will typically be escrowed, and the insurances that will also be escrowed to make a total monthly expectation that they'll be paying to the bank to make sure that all those fees are covered when they come time to pay for. Homeowners associations, HOAs, if applicable, PDDs, are they actually included in my local authority taxes? Monthly payments should be 25% or less than their total monthly income to stay on the safe side. There's plenty of mortgage calculators out there, and this is your mortgage originator's lane. This is where they thrive. This is the first conversation, and if you're able to introduce them to some great mortgage brokers out there, find some that truly specialize in first-time home buyers and that appreciate the home buying experience. This is what they're going to remember. Much like you remember putting in your order at a restaurant, getting your food to the table, the maitre d' that sat you down is going to take all the heat for how that food hit the table, not the cook, not the presentation, not the dishwasher in the back that's taking care of things after the meal. It's going to be you, Mr. Agent, the person that's going to represent the entire experience for them, that's going to take the raps if a bad loan originator is involved. So make sure that you're spending a little bit of time with them and interviewing their loan originator too. You need to set the expectations with them as a partner in this transaction so that everybody knows what to expect and everybody is taking care of each other along the way with the right amount of communication and information to make this successful. You also want to encourage your new home buyers to check their credit scores. Please let your buyers know that credit scores are important. This is the first step in home ownership. Most mortgage lenders won't typically even talk to someone with a credit score below 580. 620 and above is a much stronger position and less risk for banks. If the score is not quite where it needs to be, let them know that there are some opportunities to work with some credit improving companies, and there is some good guidance out there that buyers need to go through to specialize them on how to pay their bills properly, the right bills that they should be using, the right credit services that they need to be building upon to make sure that for such a major investment like a home, they've got all their financial ducks in a row so that they understand how to do the right things. So they're not put under additional strains of a huge loan payment with a house and all of those additional escrows. Go as far as to persuade them to shop around a little bit for that mortgage. Honestly, one of the best tips I could give any client, any of them buying a home, is that the right lender makes all the difference. But the costs of that lender helps make them the best lender too. Each of these MLOs have different loan programs, not necessarily for just the company they work for, but some of them farm these bids out to several different companies that they have had successes with to get you the best rate. You might have a list of lenders that are great at VA loans, for example, but a separate list for first-time home buyers that understand the benefits and how to share that to keep things on track. You want to have your buyers contact these multiple lenders to compare mortgage fees, rates, additional costs that it's going to take to set this mortgage up. Your buyers need to consider several different types of mortgage when they buy a home as well. Have them consult with different lenders so they know their best options. If they were going to go buy an expensive big screen TV, they were going to go out and shop the price. They were going to check Amazon. They were going to use their smartphone to use Circle AI to figure out where they can get the price for the same television. This should be no different in their head.